Whether used for recreation or fitness or alternative transportation, electric bicycles have largely been marketed only towards adults. But for the first time, a new electric bicycle has been introduced for children. And despite being solidly in my 30s, this kid at heart decided to test it out. And I roped in my nephews to get some kids' perspective as well. Hey everyone, Micah here with Electrek, and today we're reviewing the Kent Torpedo, an electric bicycle made for kids. Let's check it out. Now the first thing to note here is that the Kent Torpedo is a Class 1 electric bike, which means there's no throttle. It's a pedal assist e-bike, where the motor only works when the rider spins the pedals. Once the pedals are engaged, it can provide either low, medium, or high assist for as long as the rider continues pedaling. But once you stop pedaling, the motor cuts out and you're left coasting just like with a normal bike. The assist is not too powerful either, since the motor is just a 180 watt unit. We often like to poke fun at our European neighbors across the pond for their wimpy 250 watt e-bike motors, and this motor is even more muted than that. But for kids, it's kind of perfect. The 180 watts gives a nice little boost that you can appreciate, but that isn't overwhelming. You've still got to do the work, it just makes it more fun by helping you ride a bit faster and farther. The battery isn't huge either at just 125 watt hours. On the one hand, it's a nice little low weight pack, but on the other hand, it's probably not going to last for more than an hour of riding. Kent says it'll do 15 miles or 25 kilometers. The good news is that they designed in an auxiliary power source for when the battery dies. You know, the pedals. You just keep pedaling it. Now Kent is looking into offering the option to purchase spare batteries as well, which if they can swing, I would definitely recommend doing. They're easy to put in a bag because they're so small, and that way you could bring a spare if you wanted to go on a longer ride with your kid and have them be able to keep up without getting range anxiety. The whole bike only cost $498, so I can't imagine a spare battery could be that much. Now based on the low cost of the bike, you can imagine that it's not the most high-tech piece of kit I've ever seen. It's all pretty basic. You know, you've got this simple LED display, a simple hub motor, simple V-brakes, a pretty basic derailleur, but it all seems about what you'd expect for a kid's bike anyways. Most people don't buy something like this expecting it to last 5 years because the kid will have outgrown it by then anyways. Speaking of outgrowing, in terms of sizing, the bike is a 20-inch bike, so if that's the size that your kid fits, then they'll probably be good. My 9-year-old nephew seems to be right on the low end of the proper size for the bike, and my 7-year-old nephew can ride it once he's on it, but he needs his brother to help him get on it because he's not tall enough yet to really straddle it. That's probably a good thing because the sizing here means that kids have to be decently old enough that they're hopefully already responsible enough for an e-bike. Remember, this isn't a motorcycle here, but it's still got some extra power, so you don't want like a 5 or 6-year-old blasting around it faster than they could otherwise pedal. While I mentioned that the Kent Torpedo isn't exactly a fancy e-bike with any special features, it still seems pretty nicely made. I'm around 50% over the weight limit, which means I really shouldn't be riding it at all, but it works just fine for me. I'm also 5'7" or 170 centimeters, and I'm probably about as tall as you can be and still fit on the bike. Of course, just riding the bike along leisurely trails doesn't really put the build quality to the test, and so we decided to really put the Torpedo through its paces with the great American pastime of taking it off some sweet jumps. And a few 2x4s later, we had a classic front yard ramp going and actually got some nice air on this thing. Some of us are still working on our technique a little bit. The kids were smiling ear to ear, but of course, being the good uncle I am, I had to show them how it's really done. Even exceeding the weight limit of the bike by 50%, it held me just fine, and the bike seems like it could do this all day. It's not a fancy e-bike, but I'm pleasantly surprised by the build quality, especially for under $500. Alright, so let's sum this whole thing up. The Kent Torpedo is no powerhouse, and the battery is smaller than I would have liked, but it's still a great first e-bike, and I think it's definitely got a place in garages of families all over the country. Now there will be detractors saying kids don't need electric bikes, and you'll surely find them in the comments section below, but here's my retort. This e-bike isn't meant for kids who are already cyclists. They're already fine, let them do their thing. This e-bike is for kids who are not cyclists. Kids who spend too much time in front of screens and whose parents are trying to find a way to get them interested in more outdoor activities that are part of a healthy lifestyle. I don't know about you, but I see plenty of kids these days riding electric scooters. And while those are fun, they don't give kids any exercise. But an e-bike that you have to pedal combines the fun go-kart feel of electric scooters with the real exercise that a pedal bike offers. So naysay all you want, but I say this kid's e-bike is an awesome tool to get more kids on two wheels, especially those that weren't already riding. It's almost like a Trojan horse for fitness. They hear the words motorbike and instantly want to hop on and have fun on it, and then they end up getting some good exercise without even realizing it. Pretty soon, those kids and their families could be taking weekly long Sunday rides together, away from screens and back in the saddle.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that review of the Kent Torpedo. If you did, why don't you give this video a thumbs up? And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future electric vehicle videos. We'll see you here next time.